So yeah, so as kind of Neve mentioned there, hopefully everyone can see this. No one's told me they can't, so I'm going to presume you can. Uh, so yeah, so what I am going to quickly do is give you a run over as to who I am and spend this kind of 15 minutes focused on our kind of why behind different breeds and what it is we are trying to solve as a kind of industry-wide problem within kind of booking and event ticketing. So yeah, so to kind of dive in terms of who I am the founder of this of Different Breeds. We're a disabled-led tech for good startup, and we advocate for change for solutions in the event space. I'm an ex-software engineer at some of the kind of largest ticketing providers in the UK, and I've also been a technical lead across various digital agencies in the UK as well. I stammer, so I have a speech disability, and I couldn't really speak properly until I was in my 20s. And I use a method of word swapping and humor to deal with my condition. So my speech works a bit kind of like autocorrect when you're kind of typing on a phone. I'll swap in words when I feel a blocker coming on. I've practiced this, so I should almost have fluent speech. But the reality is that sometimes I might swap in a word that doesn't make sense because I'm kind of panic swapping. And if that does happen, just let me know and I can jump back and kind of run over stuff. So yeah, so as a kind of summary there, I stammer, I'm Scottish, so we have a kind of a whirlwind of a kind of roller coaster ahead of us. So let's go and hopefully people can understand me. So in terms of to start talking about accessibility and why I found a different breed, I think it's important to share a bit about my own condition of living with a stammer. So growing up, I very much struggled with speech. I couldn't really form sentences very well to people that I didn't know. I can't do phone calls. I still can't do phone calls because there's a lot of stress and anxiety associated with it. And trying to get that kind of first word out when people can't see you is very difficult. It leads to a kind of a situation of where you effectively can't get any words out and people hang up on you. I don't know how to word this better, but stranger danger is the kind of best way of how I essentially put it. That is starting kind of conversations with a stranger is quite tough, and you can sometimes leave the kind of wrong impression if you swap in the wrong word. Isolation is something I've dealt with a lot kind of growing up, and it's a big part of my kind of life. When you grow up in a world that does operate in a spoken way and you don't speak, you do kind of spend a lot of time alone. And that's really why I like events and music, because the entire power of live events is that you can bring people together regardless of kind of ability or situation, and it's the one place that I feel equal as a kind of individual. So on the kind of topic of growing up with a stammer, I've got kind of a bit of a unique kind of situation of where I both understand what it's like to be disabled and locked out of experiences, and I'm also a software engineer, so I know how to solve those different kinds of problems as well. And that's where very much I believe that the industry reports and statistics which we have right now only tell us half a story about accessibility, and that's very much prevalent within the event space. So in the kind of recent reports from charities like Attitude is Everything tell us that 4 out of 5 people experience problems booking accessible tickets. 79% are put off buying tickets due to difficulty booking for their needs, and 73% feel discriminated against. But where I see this being a bit of a problem is that staggering numbers are great for raising awareness. They bring about discussions, but they are generalized and they aren't directly relatable to individual venues or organizations, which has led to this approach of a focus on checklists and compliance, because these reports have failed to communicate the emotions and personal experiences of the people they represent. And those people are very much not our customers. They're our family, friends, and colleagues. And these people are also made up of like parents who have to understand the level of disappointment and their children's eyes because their child can't go to something because of a condition their parent has. It's children who don't understand why they miss out on experiences with their friends because of a condition that they don't quite understand yet. And it's also just generally disabled individuals who are being constantly reminded that one of the most inclusive mediums a of kind of bringing people together isn't quite made for people with disabilities. And I guess that's when it brings us nicely onto what we are very much focused on at Different Breed, is that we want to take the entire focus away from big statistics and use them as an entry point, and then instead bring it back onto the individuals who experience live events, and that begins with booking. So booking as a disabled individual, a lot of people don't actually know what that experience is like. So this is where we are starting as a kind of organization to try and solve that initial entry point of getting someone to actually be able to book in real time and online. So to be able to kind of visualize this, we should first talk about what a standard booking experience looks like. So this is what the traditional booking experience looks like. This is what the majority of us have seen, and the majority of us see kind of day to day. And this is an experience which takes less than 30 minutes. We are pulled in through kind of social media advertisements like band announcements for Instagram, and we have that initial kind of like excitement up front around wanting to have a chance at connecting with our favorite artist and people who some of us have connected with on a kind of very emotional level. So that kind of on sale starts. People are usually in a queue. They see a countdown timer, finally get access and can select tickets and then check out and pay. This experience usually takes less than 30 minutes. It's usually quite effective, and it ships ticket and it shifts tickets very quickly for event organizations. And then, but this experience is very much different when you are disabled. So if we take a look back at this exact same experience, but through the lens of a disabled individual, this experience is no longer 30 minutes. It's something that can take multiple days or even multiple weeks, depending on demand. So this experience starts the exact same. We get the exact same excitement, the exact same Instagram ads, and the exact same desire to have an opportunity to be able to connect with our favorite artists. But we have to hold that excitement and not allow ourselves to be fully excited just yet. We need to ask a bunch of questions up front. And those questions are, can we book accommodation based on our needs, or has that accommodation already been sold based on demand? Usually when it comes to booking accessible rooms in a hotel during an on sale, usually people have already booked up every location, all ready, or hotels can't guarantee a room because of demand. Is there captions available, or do I need to bring my own assistive technology to enable me to enjoy that experience? Is there going to be ramp or lift access? What happens if the lift is out? Am I going to be sent home? Or am I going to be strapped to a dolly and pulled upstairs as people look on and laugh at me? Is there a seat transfer? What happens to my wheelchair? Is there a companion? What's the process and what eligibility is needed? And even kind of more basic things like, will my assistance animal have water? These are kind of a couple of a lot of questions and what disabled individuals need answers to up front before they can get excited about going. And then these people are funneled into the exact same on sale experience. They are presented with a countdown timer and then given timed access onto a page to book tickets. But the problem with that page is that that page is usually missing vital content, which will answer that initial kind of first set of questions. Access tickets are never listed online. Any kind of any kind of additional needs tickets require you to essentially phone a venue, and there's very little to no support for assistive technology. So thinking about a kind of timed on sale, which will give you 10 minutes to basically come in, select tickets, and check out and pay. That doesn't provide you enough time to go and read all of the accessible information, which is usually just a wall of text presented to you as a kind of one size fits all solution for disabled attendees. So we're usually forced into what is a contact us for access bookings route, which is sometimes a phone number, it's an email, an access application flow, or on rare occasions you are able to attend the box office. So here in Scotland we have some of the final kind of ticket offices in the UK, and we're able to go and book in person for some events. But the majority of events do rely on a phone line. So for people like myself who stammer, my kind of dreams of going in there, unless I can get someone else to phone and book for me, or I can try emailing. But the kind of unfortunate reality is that when both phone and email are offered at the same time, those tickets are going to go to the people who phone, because that's the in demand and being dealt with service right now, and emails are always pushed to afterwards. So we finally try and make contact. So we either send an email and have to wait for a response, or we join a call queue, or we send a kind of application and then wait for someone to send us a reply. Once we've done that, we're then finally get someone from the event who is either going to take us on a trust model, which is a kind of process of allocating tickets without any kind of eligibility proof, which opens up tickets to misuse and means that kind of events and what people do want to go to, they can't, because those tickets have been given to people who aren't technically eligible for those additional kind of like free companion tickets, etc. Or we are asked to submit eligibility, and that's a process of handling kind of essentially handing over private medical documents to a complete stranger for them to review and make a decision on an experience that they haven't lived or have any kind of knowledge of. And then sometimes from submitting documents, you don't actually submit the same document they are used to. And then you are asked to resubmit documents and you get in a feedback loop, which can extend the process even more. And then eventually you're either rejected because the person doesn't understand your individual conditions, or you're accepted and you are asked to pay on the day, pay at the event, or pay over the phone because you've just not been thought about in that initial ticketing process. And that's just for one ticket. And the reality here is when you step back, it's different for every venue and it's different for every event. So being disabled and wanting to attend 5 theatres and each theatre is right next to each other, there's going to be 5 different applications flows, 5 different processes to go through, and there could be 5 different outcomes. There is no standards right now as to how this is handled. And that brings us quite nicely onto different breed. So I've now talked about my own disability and the problem which is present in events. So what is different breed doing about this, and what am I doing about this? And to be simply put, we're helping people with disabilities book tickets online with ease and independence, just like everyone else. So based on that kind of previous process of essentially booking disabled tickets, such as a kind of wheelchair allocation with 2 essential companions, that would take multiple days. And what we've essentially built is a software solution that turns that long process into 4 simple clicks and real-time availability for people to be able to see in real time which allocations are still available and get access to them and have an equal experience like everyone else. And that's what we've solved right now. But what we're building and what we are trying to build is essentially building solutions for each part of the experience that larger platforms have told us is not possible. So for the kind of last decade, ticketing platforms and larger providers, they've pushed accessibility onto venues to handle, and that's how we are in this kind of current situation of having different processes everywhere. So what we are essentially trying to do is both provide a solution for ticketing and add-ons right now, which allows venues to set up self-service sales and allow disabled individuals a simple eligibility process, verify once buy from anyone, and then be able to get self-service throughout the entire experience, but then also build essentially lots of little building blocks and what people can bring into their existing processes to enhance the experience. So we are also working on a personalized guide service, which will be out by the end of this year, which essentially takes that big wall of text of accessibility information and allows event organizers to optimize that for individual disabled needs. So as a disabled individual, you will be able to come in, specify your needs up front and receive a guide that's tailored towards your individual needs, making it simpler to be able to kind of skim read things and be able to see information that's actually relevant to you. By the middle of next year, we hope to launch a UK-wide index of disabled events that allows anyone to list events on it, and we bring together all the accessible information and availability in one place up front. And we hope to have that essentially as a service which will bring a personalized feed of disabled events based on your needs into your hands through any mobile device. And what we are looking to do is also extend that further by allowing you to do custom groups and bring in and also kind of add friends into a single index to be able to see what events are available for everyone in your friends group, including those with both with and without disabilities. And then we are also working on a service which is called Different Breed Connect, which hopes to be the building block which will make the actual process of larger ticketing platforms accepting access verification schemes a lot easier by implementing something which will be like sign in with Google to be able to prove eligibility and finally put the control of data and being able to revoke access to your own eligibility back into the hands of disabled individuals. And our entire software suite is used together or standalone. We build them all as individual bricks, but our end goal is to provide a Lego house and have this entire ecosystem which enables disabled individuals to have a human connection with events and personalized experiences. So that's essentially what we are kind of doing. In terms of some really nice example cases of where we have had an impact already, we've worked with a company called Base Therapy for their festival JFest. It's one of the UK's most accessible festivals, and we brought all of their disabled ticketing online and into self-service. We supported them with a kind of leading solution for accessible glamping that enabled customers based on eligibility to purchase accessible tents and customize them with things like profile beds, medical fridges, and all those kind of like nice kind of upgrades and kind of personalizations. And we also brought in fair access with verification that both made it simple for individuals with disabilities to purchase tickets based on proven eligibility, and then also protected the festival from misuse and brought that nice balance between the two. And then we also worked with Stama this year for their Stama Fest conference. And this was a really nice experience for me personally, because this is the kind of British Stammering Association charity. So we handled all of their conference tickets, we brought their accommodation online, we empowered their volunteers to offer great customer service with experiences that are built around disabled needs. And we also enabled attendees to finally have a choice of how they want to check in rather than being forced to use a method which is brought in by a kind of festival. which is great, especially for people who stammer, because that provides both a spoken and an optional digital method of being able to check in to make them feel accepted both from booking and from initial entry into the event. And I guess that kind of brings me nicely into what I see a future of accessibility as in events. And I see a future where accessibility is more about people and lived experiences. We want to focus on bringing a human aspect back into accessibility compliance within events and create a kind of ecosystem of where people build products using lived experience to solve real world problems. And I guess that kind of stems nicely back into what I am and what those behind Different Breed are. And it's that we aren't just advocates or entrepreneurs, but we are those individuals who've been left out of experiences. And now we're creating these solutions to ensure that we are included. And that's when it comes down into we aren't focused on kind of going out and selling to absolutely everybody. We want people to use us and connect with us because they love what we are doing and they believe what we are trying to achieve, not because they feel they have to because of some kind of industry report or checklist item. And yeah, and I think that by working together and also bringing kind of like lived experience into every conversation, we can finally be a different breed and solve accessibility within events. And that brings us full circle. So thanks for listening to me and thanks for giving me the opportunity to speak as well. I'll pass back to yourself, Neve.
Amazing, Craig. Like there was people in the chat there, and you're getting so many round of applause, love hearts here, because I think how you've just even explained that process, and there's a lot of people in the chat saying personally that they have had that experience. I personally don't have a disability, but I was booking a ticket for my aunt who is a wheelchair user, and we had to go through that process that you couldn't go through the normal channels. And what I loved about that is how you like, obviously it makes so much sense in that everybody in one sense is the same, that we all start from the point of excitement. You know, there's everyone's excitement builds. Everybody is seeing that their favorite band or artist is coming to town and they want the opportunity to see them. And so that's universal for everybody. But then when you break it down into all of those stages, which so many people in this chat have actually experienced, it just like it's actually still so baffling that that is the way it is. So I wonder how many people in the chat would love to see the ticket providers, the event places that you're using, trying to book tickets using Different Breed. I would also like to say that I think, Craig, the way you've designed it is beautiful as well. And you kind of said there that it is just in 4 clicks or 4 easy steps that people are able to, then get access to the tickets.
Yeah, like the entire process has been designed from lived experience from the get-go. So we started with essentially lived experience first. So we've been running for probably just over 5 years now, and 4.5 years of it was product development, where we kept silent. We were working with kind of lived experience individuals to build the product and figure out how it should work. So what we've built is effectively a ticketing marketplace that's built around disabled needs, and then that gives us the solid foundation to build on to do our kind of connected experience piece, which we want to do next, which is bringing everything together. So we've kind of taken it upon ourselves to lead on how ticketing platforms should be able to do accessible ticketing, and then we also want to provide the tools to empower the platforms to do that. So our kind of end goal essentially is that we don't need to exist in ticketing because we want everyone else to be able to do it themselves and be able to have those equal experiences and create an equal playing field. But we're going to be around until that happens, is the kind of thing.
Yeah. And do you only work with events that are music events? There's people mentioning in the chat that they have issues with booking tickets for sports events.
So we focus primarily on general admission, which is non-seated events right now, just because it's a an easier entry point for us, and also because to do seated, there's a lot more complexities on how to make a seat map accessible, on how to handle a reserved allocation alongside another platform, because usually people use us alongside their existing system, so they handle accessible bookings through us, and they handle kind of general sale through another system like Eventbrite or a Schedule or something like that. And that's mainly so we can come in halfway through a season and help a provider rather than having them swap everything over. But we can work with anyone who is general admission. We are working on a seated solution, so we aren't necessarily restricted to specific types of events. We do focus on live music and festivals because that's my own kind of interest. But yeah, we can work with sports events as well, and we can do the entire ticketing as well for events because we are a ticketing platform behind the scenes as well. So yeah, we kind of
Super.
cater for everyone.
Well, I think that there's so many people already in the chat that think this is amazing. I think it's amazing. Craig, like I said, is a finalist now in Best Ticket Operator at Access All Magazines. Craig is also going to come back and join us at 3 p.m. For our conversation about people being locked out of the buying, purchasing experiences of products and services. So we will thank Craig very much. Craig, if you just want to turn off your camera, and then we will welcome our next speaker, who is Tal from